Good evening from New York. I'm Chris Hayes, and there are shocking new developments tonight in the White House fence jumper story. The Washington Post reporting that the intruder, Omar Gonzalez, was able to make it deep into the White House, a fact not previously disclosed through any official or unofficial channels until today. And that at one point, the intruder, who was carrying a small knife, was only steps away from the first family's actual living quarters. This news comes on the same day the Washington Post is reporting just how badly the Secret Service handled a 2011 incident in which a gunman fired 7 shots at the White House exterior with an assault rifle. Okay, so 10 days ago, Friday at about 7:20 p.m., 42-year-old Omar Gonzalez, seen here in this video, an Iraq War veteran, scaled the fence at the north side of the White House and sprinted across the north grounds to the front door of the north portico. Gonzalez was armed with a knife. Having left a nearby vehicle, it was found with 800 rounds of ammunition, 2 hatchets, and a machete. The first family had, just minutes before, departed for Camp David. Secret Service had previously said that Gonzalez was physically apprehended after entering the White House north portico doors. But now, according to the Washington Post, Gonzalez made it much farther than previously known. According to 3 people familiar with the incident, speaking with that publication, including whistleblowers who contacted the chairman of the House Oversight Subcommittee on Homeland Security, Congressman Jason Chaffetz, according to the Washington Post, after barreling past or overpowering the guard immediately inside the door, Gonzalez dashed past the stairway, leading a half-flight up to the first family's living quarters. He then ran into the 80-foot-long East Room, an ornate space often used for receptions or presidential addresses. Gonzalez was tackled by a counter-assault agent at the far southern end of the East Room. By then, the intruder had reached the doorway to the Green Room. And bear in mind, as shown by this animation, just how far Gonzalez traveled beyond the front door of the north portico before he was finally apprehended. The Grand East Room, where he's finally stopped, is the very same room in which President Obama announced that Osama bin Laden had been killed by a targeted operation, later revealed to be Navy SEALs in Abbottabad, Pakistan. Today, the Washington Post reports that an alarm box near the front entrance of the White House, designed to alert guards to an intruder, had been muted at what officers believed was a request of the usher's office, according to a Secret Service official who spoke on the condition of anonymity. As had been previously reported, Gonzalez had been charged with evading arrest and possession of a weapon in White County, Virginia, after July 19th, in which he allegedly drove recklessly and was in possession of weapons, including a sawed-off shotgun, as well as a map with the White House circled. Gonzalez is now being held without bail until his next court date. Joining me now, Congressman Cummings, Democrat from Maryland. He's the ranking member of the House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform. And Congressman, your reaction to today's news?
It's extremely upsetting and very disappointing. And it's clear, Chris, that there is a culture problem in the Secret Service. And the idea that the first family could be in that kind of a situation is just unheard of. I mean, and so we've got to address this, and we've got to address it immediately.
From your standpoint, as the House committee that's tasked with oversight, what are the questions you have? I understand there's a hearing. I believe there's a hearing tomorrow, actually, subcommittee hearing tomorrow. What are the questions you have? What are the questions you want answered? And where does this go from here?
I want to know exactly what is the protocol. For example, the incident that you just mentioned, the one where the fellow got into the White House and ran through the White House, coming to some steps, passing some steps that led straight up to the residence where the president, the first lady, and their daughters sleep. I want to know there are all kinds of layers, Chris, that should have sounded the alarms, but some kind of way this fella, Gonzalez, got past that. I also want to know, suppose we had 12 or 13 folks jumping over that fence. What would have happened then? But you know, Chris, there's one issue that really bothers me, and that is that there seems to be a climate or a culture where these officers either feel afraid, or I'm talking about Secret Service officers, feel afraid or do not have confidence that they can let their superiors know exactly what happened.
Right.
And in this kind of organization, Chris, the most elite security force in the world, as far as protection is concerned, in the most guarded house, the White House in the world, this just does not work. I mean, so I'm trying to figure out exactly how is it that folks feel more comfortable acting as whistleblowers as opposed to going to their superiors. That's a problem.
That's a really good point. We are hearing about this. Part of the intrigue here, or part of what's astonishing about this, isn't just the chain of events. It's the way those events have come to light.
Right. That's right.
And the trajectory of that information, which essentially seems to be, rather than the Secret Service being forthcoming about something that I think we would all agree is something the public has a right to know, we are getting this through back channels that apparently are being brought before House members.
That's right. And the other thing, keep in mind, Chris, according to the reports, this president has received 3 times as many threats as other presidents. He's dealing with ISIS, enemies all around the world, and he's also dealing now with homegrown terrorist type. I mean, it seems as if their alarm, their vision would be much clearer. That is the Secret Service, and that they would be more on guard than ever before. But also keep in mind, Chris, that just a few years ago, we had the issue with the prostitutes and Secret Service agents getting together in Colombia. And I had an opportunity, I was invited to address the top folks in the Secret Service back then, about 150 of them. And one of the things that I said to them, I look back at my notes today, I said, I beg you to have a Secret Service where a person cannot imagine imagining that they can pierce your protected veil. Because, see, Chris, you've got to have, not only must you have an excellent organization, but you have to have the reputation that goes with it. Because the reputation is, in large part, what stops people from doing these things.
That is an excellent point, that actually the reputation of the Secret Service is itself a means of deterrence. Congressman Elijah Cummings, thank you for your time tonight.